The boy's lips trembled. "He's still inside," he whispered, barely audible against the biting wind. The canine's ears shot up. One sharp bark split the silence, deep, urgent, final. The soldier froze, his gloved hand hovering over the door handle. Inside, the air pressed heavy. Shadows crawled across the floor, and the boy tugged at the soldier's sleeve, eyes wide with something more than fear. But to understand why they were there, why the dog barked only once, we need to go back, to the moment they first stepped into the snow-covered town. The door creaked. And what lay behind it would change everything. The snow whispered across the broken street like it carried secrets too heavy for words. A town once alive with voices and laughter now sat hollow, its buildings leaning against one another as though they, too, were weary from the silence. The soldier adjusted the strap of his rifle against his shoulder, the weight familiar but not comforting. The canine padded at his side, steps precise, ears tilting at every faint crack in the distance. Behind them, the boy struggled to keep up, his small boots sinking deep into the powder. The soldier stopped suddenly, raising one gloved hand. The boy froze, half breathless, cheeks flushed red from the cold. The canine stilled in perfect obedience, its amber eyes fixed forward, nose twitching against the wind. For a moment, there was nothing, no sound but the hum of winter. Then, faintly, from the direction of a collapsed storefront, came the groan of wood shifting under strain. The soldier crouched, motioning the boy to stay close. His voice was low, nearly swallowed by the air. "Stay behind me." The boy nodded, but his eyes betrayed something else. They weren't just filled with fear, they carried a secret, one too heavy for a child to bear. The soldier scanned the street. Empty window frames stared back at him like black sockets. A broken sign creaked. The wind pressed harder. The canine's ears pricked. A soft rumble started in its throat, not yet a bark but a warning. The soldier's grip on his rifle tightened, his other hand brushing the dog's shoulder in a silent command, "Steady." They moved slowly, every crunch of boots magnified in the silence. The boy's breath came in quick bursts, each cloud hanging in the air too long, too visible. He clutched his jacket tighter, but it wasn't the cold that made him tremble. When they reached the edge of the street, the soldier crouched again, motioning for the boy to huddle against the wall. He scanned the alley, a path narrowed by collapsed beams and fractured brick. Snow drifted through gaps above, floating like ash. The canine stepped ahead, nose pressing close to the ground. It stopped abruptly, tail stiff. A sound followed, faint but sharp. A whisper. The soldier turned, eyes narrowing. The boy's lips moved, barely parting, voice softer than the wind itself. "Don't let him find me." The soldier froze. His heart punched hard against his chest. His training told him to catalog everything, enemy presence, structural hazards, angles of attack, but the words burrowed deeper than any tactical report. He crouched lower, meeting the boy's eyes. "What did you say?" His voice was rougher than he intended. The boy blinked rapidly, pulling his knees tighter, shaking his head as if he hadn't spoken at all. But the soldier knew what he'd heard. The canine growled. Low, guttural, a sound that didn't come from threat but recognition. The dog's gaze lifted, not at the boy, not at the soldier, but beyond. To the door at the end of the alley. It was half broken, wood splintered and swollen from years of weather. A shard of rusted metal jutted out where the handle had once been. The soldier's stomach tightened. He shifted his rifle and took a step forward. The boy lunged, grabbing his arm. "No," he said sharply, eyes wide. "He's still inside." The soldier stared at him. The boy's words, this time louder, cracked the silence in a way the wind could not cover. The soldier's grip on the rifle faltered just slightly. His mind spun through questions. Who was inside? How did the boy know? Why did his voice sound like he was speaking of someone he both feared and mourned? Before he could press for answers, the canine barked once. Just once. Not frantic. Not repeated. One sound, sharp and full, echoing off the alley walls before fading into the quiet. The soldier froze. A single bark wasn't casual, it was communication. The dog had learned to speak without words. One bark meant certainty. A find. A presence undeniable. The soldier's throat tightened. He looked at the boy, who pressed himself against the wall, shaking his head, whispering again under his breath. "Don't let him find me, don't let him find me." The words slipped out like a chant, quiet but steady. The soldier pressed his back against the wall, the cold seeping through his jacket. He raised a fist, signaling silence, though no one had spoken above a whisper. The canine waited, body taut, nose still pointing toward the door. For a moment, time held its breath. The boy's fingers clawed at the soldier's sleeve, eyes glistening with something raw, terror mixed with a plea. The soldier wanted to ask 100 questions, but his instincts told him the answers weren't ready. Not yet. Instead, he took a slow step toward the door. Snow crunched beneath his boot, each sound amplified. His hand brushed against the cold stock of his rifle, though he knew bullets wouldn't answer what waited beyond that wood. The canine moved with him, steady, precise, ears sharp. The boy didn't follow. He couldn't. His knees buckled, his small frame pressed harder against the frozen wall, lips moving still. "Don't let him find me." The soldier's heart beat like a drum. Each whisper fell heavier, sinking deep. Each one carried the weight of something more than fear, something remembered. The canine stopped inches from the door. Its body stiffened. Tail down. A breath caught in its chest. The soldier could feel it, the moment before a truth is revealed, the space between silence and discovery. He reached for the door. And the boy cried out, louder than before, words broken but sharp. "He's still inside." The wind cut through, the dog growled deep, and the soldier's hand froze just inches from the wood. To be continued. Open. The soldier's gloved hand hovered just shy of the door, suspended between decision and dread. He could feel the boy's grip digging into his arm, desperate, almost bruising through the layers of fabric. The boy's eyes were wide, pupils blown with fear, yet they carried a strange weight, as if he had seen what lay beyond before. The canine pressed forward, nose to the split wood, inhaling in deep, measured pulls. Each breath was punctuated by a faint whine low in its throat, not panic but insistence. The soldier steadied himself, fingers grazing the battered doorframe, testing its give. The boy's voice cracked again, louder this time, trembling and sharp. "Please, don't. He's still inside." The soldier froze, searching the boy's face. "Who?" But the child's lips pressed tight, a refusal born not of stubbornness but of something heavier, fear laced with loyalty. He wouldn't, or couldn't, give more. The wind rattled debris overhead, the groan of shifting beams filling the silence between them. The canine leaned harder against the door, muscles taut, ears flat against its head. Its amber eyes flicked toward the soldier, waiting for the command. Training dictated a process: clear the area, protect the civilian, gather intel before proceeding. But instinct, honed by years of decisions in snow-swept towns and broken streets, told him something else. That bark, the boy's whisper, it wasn't random. It was a signal. The soldier stepped back, lowering his rifle just slightly. He crouched, lowering his voice until it barely cut the space between them. "You need to tell me, kid. Who's inside?" The boy's lips quivered. For a heartbeat, he seemed ready to speak. But then his eyes darted to the door as if the very wood could hear. His whisper returned, brittle, sharp as glass. "Don't let him find me." The soldier inhaled slowly, letting the cold fill his lungs. He hated riddles. He hated silence more. The canine growled again, deeper this time, a sound that vibrated through the soldier's boots. Whatever was beyond that door, the dog knew. And the boy knew. He was the only one still in the dark. "All right," the soldier muttered, more to himself than anyone else. He straightened, signaling the boy with a subtle motion to stay put. "Stay down. No matter what." The boy's small hand reached after him but fell away, curling into the folds of his jacket as if trying to disappear. His breaths came fast, uneven, fogging the frozen air in small clouds. The soldier nodded once to the K9. The dog stiffened, ready. With a sharp push, the door gave way, creaking on its hinges before crashing against the wall inside. Dust swirled upward, mixing with the snow that drifted in behind them. The soldier raised his rifle, beam of his small flashlight cutting through the darkness. The room was narrow, long, lined with shelves that leaned with the weight of decay. Broken glass crunched under his boots. The air inside was colder, heavy with damp wood and something else, something metallic. The K9 surged ahead, its paws silent even on debris, tail low, every muscle speaking tension. It stopped halfway across the room, head lifting, nose twitching. A low, rolling growl rumbled from its chest. The soldier scanned the beam of light across the shelves, across the far wall where a collapsed cabinet leaned sideways. Shadows layered over shadows. Nothing. Then, a sound. A scrape. Slow, deliberate. Wood against stone. The soldier froze, breath locked tight. The beam of light swept again, landing on a section of wall where plaster had cracked away, revealing dark stone behind it. The sound came from there. From beneath. The K9 barked once more, sharp, ears pinned forward. The boy's cry cut through the stillness, muffled behind him from the doorway. "No! Don't let him out!" The soldier's pulse thudded in his ears. "Not find him, let him out." The distinction settled like ice in his stomach. He turned his head slightly, voice low. "What's down there?" The boy didn't answer. He just shook his head wildly, pressing his hands over his ears as if he could block out the sound. The scraping grew louder. More deliberate. The K9 lunged forward, claws scraping against the cracked stone. Its paws pressed into the wall, nose jammed into the fractures as if trying to dig. Saliva flecked from its mouth as it growled, insistent, unrelenting. The soldier took a step closer, flashlight beam steady, eyes narrowing at the widening crack. Beneath the plaster, the faint outline of a hatch took shape, long hidden beneath layers of repair. Someone had tried to seal it. Another scrape, and the hatch shuddered faintly. The boy screamed, voice tearing through the cold. "Please! Don't open it! He's still inside." The soldier's throat tightened. His training screamed procedure, identify threat, secure civilian, neutralize. But this wasn't an enemy patrol or a sniper in shadow. This was something else, wrapped in silence and whispers and a child's fractured plea. The K9 barked again, sharp, the sound echoing off the shelves. It pawed hard, claws dragging, body tense as a drawn wire. The soldier pressed his palm against the wood above the hatch. Cold. Solid. But trembling faintly under the scrape from below. He leaned back, looking at the boy. "If I open this, what am I going to see?" The boy's head shook again, tears streaking down his frostbitten cheeks. His whisper cracked apart, but the words carried clear. "Don't let him find me." The soldier looked back at the hatch. The scraping stopped. Silence bled into the room, thick, oppressive. The K9 froze, nose pressed tight, ears rigid. And then, 3 sharp knocks. Not random. Not frantic. Deliberate. The soldier's breath caught. The boy wailed, his body collapsing against the wall outside, voice breaking. He's still inside. The soldier stepped back, rifle tight in his grip, heart hammering. The K9 growled, waiting for the command. The hatch shuddered once more. And the whisper in the boy's voice cracked louder, raw, desperate. "Please, help me." The 3 knocks still hung in the air, each one pulsing through the soldier's chest like an echo that refused to die. His breath fogged in the beam of his flashlight, hands steady on the rifle though his mind spun. The K9 stood rigid at the wall, claws braced against the cracked stone, tail stiff, chest heaving with short bursts of breath. The boy sobbed against the frame of the doorway, body trembling in a way no cold wind could cause. His face was pale beneath streaks of dirt, eyes wide with something beyond fear, a knowing. The soldier forced his voice into the silence, low and even. "Who is it?" The question floated across the room, unanswered except by the slow drip of melting ice from the ceiling. He hadn't expected an answer. And yet, part of him braced for one. The boy shook his head violently, his small fists striking against the doorframe in helpless rhythm. "Don't ask him. Don't talk to him." His voice cracked, desperate. The soldier's jaw clenched. He wasn't a man given to superstition, nor easily swayed by whispers and shadows. He had seen too much: war zones, villages emptied of life, comrades lost to silence. But this boy, this dog, and that hatch, none of it was in the manuals. None of it fit procedure. The scraping started again. This time, it wasn't slow. It was deliberate, faster, like hands clawing upward against the wood. Dust rained from the cracks, catching in the beam of light. The K9 barked once more, short, sharp, its echo swallowed instantly by the walls. It pawed frantically now, claws screeching against the hidden outline of the hatch, nose pressed so hard that flecks of plaster broke loose. The soldier tightened his grip on the rifle. His instincts warred. The boy begged restraint. The dog demanded action. And something beneath wanted out. "Kid," the soldier said firmly, cutting through the chaos. "You need to tell me. Who's inside that hatch?" The boy's sobbing slowed for a moment, just enough for his words to stumble through, faint and broken. "Don't let him find me, he can't, not again." The soldier's brow furrowed. "Not again?" His voice sharpened. "You've seen him before?" The boy's eyes locked on his, and in that instant, the soldier saw it, the recognition of someone who had already lived through the terror, who carried scars invisible but deep. The boy didn't answer with words. He just pressed his back harder into the wood, curling in on himself as though bracing for something inevitable. The scraping stopped. Silence dropped heavy, the kind that gnaws at nerves and swallows thought. The soldier's flashlight beam flicked back to the hatch. Dust still drifted, but the wood was motionless now. No knocks. No movement. Nothing but the quiet. The K9 froze in place, ears rigid, breath shallow. Its growl died in its throat, replaced by stillness. That was worse than the barking. The soldier knew the difference. The dog wasn't bracing to fight. It was bracing to wait. And then it came. Not sound. Not movement. A whisper. But not from the boy. It rose faint from beneath the hatch, curling up through the cracks in a tone that was soft, unhurried, and chillingly familiar. "Help me." The soldier's blood iced. It wasn't loud. It wasn't urgent. But it was clear, clear enough that he could swear it was spoken inches away. The boy screamed. "No! Don't listen to him." His voice cracked into raw terror, louder than anything he had spoken yet. The soldier's grip on the rifle faltered. The whisper had been too real. Not imagined. Not an echo. He stared at the hatch, pulse surging. The K9 lunged, slamming its paws harder against the stone. It barked twice in rapid bursts, chest shaking with force. "Easy," the soldier hissed, pulling the dog back by its harness. The animal resisted, body surging forward, desperate, as though it knew the voice meant more than sound. The boy shook his head again, tears streaking down. Please, don't open it. If you open it, he'll find me. He always finds me. The soldier crouched in front of him, gripping the boy's shoulders firmly. His voice was sharp, cutting. Who is he? The boy's mouth opened, trembling, but the words that came were not explanation. They were the same refrain, over and over, splintering into sobs. Don't let him find me, don't let him find me. The soldier's throat tightened. He wanted to shake the truth free, but the boy was locked in that one plea, voice cracking under its own repetition. The whisper came again. This time louder. Closer. Help me. The soldier's flashlight beam quivered over the hatch. The wood shifted faintly beneath its frame, as if someone below had pressed their palm flat against it. He felt the weight of decision bearing down on him. If he opened it, he risked unleashing something the boy feared more than death itself. If he didn't, he risked ignoring a plea for help, something his duty forbade. The canine whined, pawing frantically, caught between its training and its instincts. Its head darted between the soldier and the hatch, desperate for command. The soldier's lips pressed tight. He had never been a man to freeze. Action had always been survival. But here, hesitation chained him. The boy's whisper cracked sharp, cutting through his thoughts. Don't let him find me. And for the first time, the soldier realized the boy wasn't talking to him. He was pleading with the air, the shadows, the thing beneath. A sudden, violent bang shook the hatch. Wood splintered outward, dust exploding across the room. The boy screamed, curling tighter, hands over his head. The canine barked furiously, straining at its harness, claws tearing at the floor. The soldier raised his rifle, sight fixed dead on the hatch. His finger tightened on the trigger. The whisper shifted, no longer soft. It cracked sharp, urgent, as though the voice itself had been waiting for this moment. Help me! The soldier's breath caught, heart pounding. He had to decide. Now. And just as he braced, the boy's scream tore through the air louder than ever before, voice shattering into desperation. Don't let him find me. The hatch shuddered violently again, dust choking the air. The soldier's finger hovered against the trigger, frozen between the voice below and the boy's terrified plea. The canine lunged forward once more. And then, silence. The hatch went still. The boy's sobs echoed in the emptiness, whisper fading into whimpers. But the soldier knew. The quiet wasn't the end. It was only the pause before the choice. The silence that followed the violent shudder of the hatch was worse than the noise. It clung to the air, thick and heavy, pressing on the soldier's ears until he could hear only his own breath and the rapid hammer of his pulse. Dust hung suspended in the beam of his flashlight, tiny flecks swirling like falling embers. The canine stood stiff, chest heaving, teeth bared in a silent snarl. Every muscle trembled with the demand to act, to strike, to defend. But the dog did not move forward again. It simply held its ground, a sentinel awaiting permission. The boy's sobs filled the doorway, muffled behind his hands. He rocked back and forth against the frame, as though movement could carry him away from what pressed beneath the floor. His words fell in broken repetition, his voice raw and desperate. Don't let him find me, don't let him find me. The soldier lowered his rifle slightly, eyes locked on the hatch. He wanted to believe this was explainable. Someone trapped beneath. A survivor. That voice, though strained, though unsettling, had asked for help. But the way the boy recoiled, the way the dog bristled, gnawed at the edge of his judgment. He crouched low, sliding one gloved hand across the wood where splinters had broken free. It was colder than the rest of the room, almost as if the stone beneath exhaled ice. The soldier whispered to himself, not realizing he spoke aloud. Could someone still be down there all this time? And as if in answer, the whisper rose again. Help me. This time it was louder, clearer, almost at ear level. The soldier snapped his head back, rifle raised. The voice carried no muffled distortion, no depth of distance. It was close, far too close. The boy screamed, a raw tear in his throat. "Don't open it!" He clutched his head with both hands, curling tighter against the wood of the doorway, his voice breaking into sobs. The soldier steadied his aim on the hatch, sweat running cold down his spine. "Who are you?" His voice was sharp, commanding, the tone of a man used to answers. For a breath, silence held. Then the voice returned, urgent now. "Please, help me. I'm trapped." The soldier's mind spun. The words came clean, human, desperate. It sounded like every plea he had ever heard from men pinned under rubble, from villagers caught in collapse. Every instinct in his body screamed at him not to ignore it. But then the boy's small hand shot forward, grabbing at his boot. His tear-streaked face tilted up, and in the depths of his eyes, there was no doubt. Only terror. "If you help him, he'll find me. He'll never stop until he does." The soldier's chest tightened. He looked between the boy and the hatch, the weight of choice pressing heavier by the second. The K9 whined sharply, pawing once at the stone before snapping its gaze back at the soldier, ears pinned, waiting for the word. "Damn it," the soldier hissed. He pulled the boy closer, crouching low, forcing his gaze to meet his own. "You need to tell me who's inside. I can't protect you if I don't know what we're facing." The boy's lip trembled, and for the first time, words other than the plea spilled free. "He said he would come for me. He said even if I ran, he'd find me again." His small hands clenched into fists, nails biting into his palms. "I thought I lost him. I thought he was gone." The soldier's heart sank. This wasn't a stranger's fear. This was history. Before he could press further, the hatch shuddered violently, wood groaning against its nails. The voice erupted again, no longer faint. "Help me! Please!" It echoed off the walls, louder, too loud to be beneath. It felt like it filled the room. The K9 barked furiously, claws raking the floor, body surging forward until the soldier yanked back hard on its harness. The dog growled deep, chest vibrating, first standing on end. The soldier's flashlight beam quivered against the hatch, catching the edges of nails as they shifted. Dust rained harder. Something below pushed, testing the weakness. The boy wailed, hands pressed tight over his ears, voice cracking into raw panic. "Don't let him find me. Don't let him find me." The soldier's throat burned. He wasn't a man who froze under fire, yet here he stood paralyzed, not from fear for himself, but from the impossible weight of choice. He pressed the boy back into the corner, his voice hard. "Stay behind me. No matter what happens." The boy shook his head frantically. "You don't understand. If you open it, it's already too late." The soldier forced his rifle steady, his breath even. He turned toward the K9, voice low but sharp. "Hold." The dog froze, growl vibrating like a wire pulled too tight. The hatch jumped again, the force cracking wood at the edge. Splinters jutted outward like broken teeth. "Help me!" The voice thundered, urgent, louder than before, carrying pain and command in equal measure. The soldier braced his rifle on his shoulder, sight trained on the hatch, finger firm on the trigger. He didn't know who was beneath. He didn't know what. But he knew the moment was coming, he would have to choose. The boy's whisper cracked through the tension, softer now but piercing. "Don't let him find me." The soldier's jaw tightened, eyes fixed on the trembling wood. His voice was low, a growl of resolve. "Not until I know what you are." And then, silence. The hatch stilled completely. No voice. No scrape. Nothing. The soldier's finger hovered on the trigger, sweat cold against his temple. The boy peeked through trembling fingers, sobs quieting, as though waiting for the moment to break again. The K9 held still, chest heaving, eyes locked on the hatch. And then, so faint the soldier almost missed it. The voice rose one final time in that moment, no longer urgent, no longer loud. Just a whisper. "Please, help me." But this time, it came not from beneath the hatch. It came from behind him. The soldier spun, rifle snapping upward toward the doorway. The boy gasped, freezing in place, his lips parting as if he had heard it too. And the K9 whipped its head over its shoulder, growling deep, teeth flashing in the dim beam of light. The soldier's stomach dropped. Because the doorway behind them was empty. The soldier's pivot was instinctual, rifle raised, breath held, body coiled in the space between reaction and regret. The whisper had come from behind him, but the doorway was empty. Nothing but falling snow drifting through fractured beams of moonlight. The boy's eyes, wide and wet, darted between the hatch at the floor and the threshold now dark behind them. He shook his head violently, his lips shaping words too broken for air. The K9 growled deep, its entire frame trembling with tension. It snapped its head from the hatch to the doorway and back again, indecisive for the first time since the soldier had known him. The animal's instincts screamed danger in two directions at once. The soldier steadied his rifle, sweeping the beam of his light across the hall beyond. Dust motes hung in the air, caught like insects in amber. Broken shelves. Empty crates. Silence. But silence wasn't safety. He knew that. Too many times he had stepped into quiet only to find violence waiting just beyond. "Stay down," he ordered, voice cutting through the thick air. The boy's sobs quieted, but his trembling did not. His small hands clutched the fabric of his jacket like a shield. The soldier shifted back into the room, eyes fixed on both the hatch and the doorway. His pulse hammered steady but strong. The rules of engagement demanded clarity, but clarity was gone. The whispers had moved. The enemy, if there was one, was not confined. The K9 barked once, loud, sharp, echoing. It snapped its gaze toward the doorway, tail stiff, hackles raised. The soldier adjusted his stance, feet planted, rifle steady. He called out into the hall. "Show yourself." No answer. His voice hardened. "Now." The only reply was the groan of wind pressing through broken shutters. The boy whimpered. "Don't make him come." The soldier's jaw tightened. "Who?" The boy buried his face against his knees. His voice cracked into fragments. "He'll find me if you call him, he always finds me." The soldier clenched his teeth. This wasn't war as he knew it. This was something tangled between fear and memory, between reality and the way trauma shapes what a child believes. And yet, the dog believed it too. The K9 was no stranger to lies, it smelled truth and fear, it heard what men could not. The soldier crouched low beside the boy, keeping his rifle angled toward the doorway. "Listen to me. You're safe as long as I'm here. Do you understand?" The boy's head shook slowly, side to side, as if the words were promises too fragile to mean anything. The soldier's frustration coiled tight, but he pressed it down. He had to hold the line, not just with his rifle, but with the child's fragile trust. The whisper rose again. "Help me." This time it came not from the hatch or the doorway. It drifted from the far corner of the room itself, curling out of the shadows like smoke. The soldier's breath hitched. He swung his beam toward the corner. Empty. Only fractured brick and a collapsed shelf. The boy screamed, his voice breaking into shards. "Stop listening. Don't listen to him." The K9 lunged against its harness, teeth bared toward the corner, barking with frantic precision. The soldier's skin prickled. The whispers weren't moving randomly. They were circling. Surrounding. Testing. He steadied his voice, speaking loud into the empty corner. "If you need help, come into the light." The words echoed against the stone and wood. No footsteps followed. Instead, The whisper sharpened, louder, pleading now. Help me. Please. Open the door. The soldier's beam flicked back to the hatch. Dust still drifted, the wood trembling faintly as if breathing. The boy's hands shot out, gripping his sleeve with desperate strength. Please don't. Please. If you do, he'll see me. He'll never stop if he does. The soldier's chest tightened. The boy's terror wasn't feigned, it came from some place deeper, some history he hadn't yet uncovered. Kid, the soldier said low, his eyes searching his. Who is he? The boy's whisper slipped out, ragged. The one I ran from. The soldier's pulse spiked. That meant pursuit. That meant danger more real than whispers. Someone had chased this child here. Someone still wanted him. The K9 growled low, its nose pressing to the ground, circling. It was tracking something unseen, ears twitching, body stiff. And then it barked again, one loud crack of sound that slammed the silence. The soldier tightened his grip on the rifle. He knew what one bark meant. Certainty. Presence. Where, he demanded. The K9 froze, head snapping back toward the hatch. It pawed once, sharp, claws scraping the wood. The soldier's heart sank. Of course. He stepped toward it, every nerve pulled taut, the boy's cries rising behind him like a storm. The hatch shuddered hard, nails groaning in their sockets. Splinters rained down, tiny fractures spiderwebbing outward. Help me, the voice screamed, urgent, thunderous. The boy wailed, pressing his face against the floor, his words a mantra of broken terror. Don't let him find me, don't let him find me. The soldier's throat burned. He wanted answers. He needed them. But the boy's cries and the dog's certainty pressed him into an impossible moment. The hatch buckled again. One nail snapped free with a metallic twang, skittering across the floor. The K9 lunged forward, barking with primal fury, pulling against the harness with every muscle straining. The soldier raised his rifle, sight trained on the hatch. Sweat ran cold down his temple. He turned his head just slightly, voice low, words spoken more to himself than the boy. If you were me, would you trust the dog? The hatch slammed upward, dust exploding outward. And the voice below erupted, screaming now, shredding the silence into chaos. Help me! The soldier's finger tightened on the trigger. The boy's cry tore across the room, louder than all. Don't let him out. And then the hatch cracked wide open. The hatch split wide with a crack that shook dust from the rafters. The wooden planks, long rotted and splintered, gave way under the force of something below pressing upward. Snow swirled through the broken gaps in the walls, carrying the dust into a storm of white and gray. The soldier's rifle was raised, sight fixed dead center, his finger hovering with lethal patience. The K9 lunged forward at the opening, teeth bared, a roar of barks tearing through the room. The boy shrieked behind him, voice breaking into jagged cries, "Don't let him out! Don't let him out!" And then the voice came again, loud and unrelenting, pounding against the soldier's ears. Help me! Please! I can't breathe! The soldier hesitated, breath locked in his chest. It was a man's voice, strained, desperate, all the sounds of someone trapped in fighting for survival. It was every cry he'd heard on the battlefield, every voice buried under rubble, every plea he had answered. But the boy's terror cut against it like a blade. His cries weren't of sympathy. They were of memory, of recognition. He'll find me. He'll find me. The K9 lunged harder, straining against the harness, claws tearing at the stone. Its teeth flashed in the beam of light, barking with savage rhythm, no hesitation in its fury. The soldier stepped closer, boots crunching glass, rifle steady. He angled the flashlight downward, forcing the beam into the dark hollow beneath the hatch. Shadows shifted. A hand appeared first, pale, dirt-streaked, fingers clawing through splinters. Nails torn, skin raw, trembling with the effort of pushing upward. The soldier's stomach clenched. A human hand. Not an illusion. Flesh and blood. The boy screamed louder, scrambling further back into the corner, covering his head with both arms. No! Don't let him find me. Please! The voice rose, raw and ragged. Help me! I'm trapped. The hand clawed higher, pulling at the frame, dragging an arm free. The skin was caked with dirt, sleeve shredded, muscles straining under the effort. The soldier's sight locked on it, his breath slowing to a measured cadence. The canine snapped its jaws, surging forward until the harness cut it short. Saliva flecked the air, bark after bark crashing against the room like gunfire. The soldier shouted over the noise, his voice a whip of command. Stop! But nothing stopped. The hand clawed further, shoulder rising now, head pressing up against the splinters. A face emerged, pale, eyes wild, hair matted with dirt and sweat. It gasped for air, mouth opening wide as the voice cracked louder. Please! Help me! The soldier's rifle steadied, his training demanding he assess the threat. But the sight of that face, the hollow cheeks, the desperate eyes, fought his instincts. It looked human. It looked like a man. But the boy's wail split through again, sharp as a blade. It's him. Don't let him out. The canine lunged so violently the soldier was dragged a step forward, boots sliding against grit. The dog's growls deepened into something primal, something unshakable. The soldier's mind raced. This was the point of fracture, the moment where one choice would bind the rest. His training said one thing. His instincts another. The boy's terror a third. And the dog's certainty yet another. The man below clawed his way higher, both arms now free, shoulders straining. His body shook with effort, with hunger for air. Please! Please! I can't breathe down here. His voice cracked into sobs, raw and human. The soldier's throat tightened. He had heard that sound too many times, men buried alive, begging for a chance to see daylight again. He had pulled them free, carried them out, given them breath. How could he deny it now? The boy's scream grew frantic, voice shredding. He's lying. Don't believe him. He'll find me. He always finds me. The soldier's sight flicked between the boy and the man clawing upward. He was trapped between two truths, each heavier than the other. The canine barked once more, loud and final, its body vibrating with fury. Its amber eyes locked on the man below with a focus so sharp it cut through doubt. The soldier's heart thundered. Sweat slid cold down his spine. He didn't lower the rifle. He didn't fire. He waited. The man's head finally broke free of the hatch, shoulders dragging against the splinters. His eyes snapped up toward the soldier, wide and wild, a face streaked with grime and desperation. For the briefest moment, the soldier almost believed it. And then the whisper came, not from the mouth, not from the breath, but curling beneath the voice itself. A second layer. A shadow within sound. Help me. It overlapped, distorted, too soft for the boy to hear, but sharp enough for the soldier's blood to run cold. The man's voice screamed again, raw and human. Pull me out. The boy wailed, pressing himself into the corner, voice tearing apart. Don't let him find me. The soldier's finger tightened on the trigger, breath held tight. The canine lunged again, barking with unbreakable force, its body straining against leather, claws gouging the wood. And for the first time, the soldier saw it. In the man's eyes, beneath the desperation, beneath the humanity, something glinted. Something sharp. Recognition. Not of the soldier. Of the boy. The man's gaze snapped toward the child, and his lips curled into something that wasn't desperation at all. The boy screamed louder, voice breaking into shards. He sees me! He sees me! The soldier's stomach dropped. His decision was no longer between compassion and caution. It was survival. The K9 roared in barks, snapping its teeth, fighting the harness with everything it had. The man below surged upward, dragging himself higher, his voice no longer just desperate, it was triumphant. "Found you!" The boy shrieked, covering his face. The soldier steadied his rifle, every muscle pulling tight. And then the hatch exploded in splinters as the man forced his body through, dirt and dust flooding the air. The soldier's fingers squeezed. The K9 leapt. And the boy's scream drowned everything else. The crack of the rifle split the air. The muzzle flash lit the ruined storeroom in a burst of white fire, illuminating dust, splinters, and the pale face of the man forcing himself out of the hatch. The sound echoed against the stone walls, rolling through the silence like thunder trapped in a box. The man's head jerked, his body convulsing as the bullet struck. For an instant, the soldier thought it was over, that the threat had been stopped before it could rise. But then the man laughed. A short, broken sound, twisted by pain but threaded with triumph. The boy shrieked, pressing himself into the corner so violently that his small frame seemed to fold into the wall. "No! No! He's not gone. He won't stop." The soldier adjusted, chambering another round. His rifle was steady, his breath even, but his stomach twisted. He had hit the man square, center mass. No one stood after that. No one should. And yet the man's head tilted upward. His eyes, wide and unblinking, found the boy through the haze of dust. His lips peeled back into a smile that wasn't born of desperation or relief. It was possession. The K9 lunged, body surging forward, teeth flashing as it snapped at the man's shoulder. The impact dragged both down in a violent collision against the broken wood. The dog snarled, shaking, teeth sinking deep into cloth and flesh. The soldier advanced, rifle trained, ready to end it. But then, the whisper rose. Not one voice. Not from the hatch. From everywhere. "Help me! Help me! Help me!" It layered, hundreds of voices overlapping, distorted, crashing into one another until the words blurred into a wall of sound. The soldier's ears rang. His vision flickered as if the very air carried the plea. The boy screamed louder, clutching his head, rocking violently. "Don't listen! Don't listen!" The soldier gritted his teeth, forcing his focus. He couldn't let the whispers drown him. He steadied his rifle, sight locked on the writhing man beneath the K9's weight. The man gasped, blood flecking his lips. Yet even through the pain, his smile widened, and his voice rose in a broken chorus with the whispers. "Help me!" The soldier fired again. Another crack. Another burst of light. The man's body jerked, but his voice didn't falter. If anything, it grew stronger, the plea echoing not from his throat but from the air itself. The K9 snarled, ripping its jaws free only to clamp down again, relentless. Blood sprayed against the dust, but the man's eyes never left the boy. The child wailed, covering his ears, voice breaking into jagged pleas. "He sees me! He sees me! Don't let him find me!" The soldier took another step, forcing his voice above the chaos. "What are you?" For the first time, the whispers faltered. The man's lips curled, blood streaking his teeth. His eyes gleamed with something unnatural in their recognition. "I found him." The boy's scream cracked into silence, breath stolen, eyes rolling back in horror. The soldier's grip tightened on his rifle. His instincts screamed to fire again, but the room was drowning in voices. The whispers overlapped, louder, distorted until they no longer formed words but a howl of sound. "Help me, help me, help me." The soldier's knees trembled under the weight of it. His pulse thundered against his skull, each beat another hammer against the wall of sound. The K9 fought harder, dragging the man fully from the hatch, slamming him into the floorboards. The dog's teeth tore, its growls vibrating through the soldier's chest. Yet even pinned, even torn, the man's eyes never looked away from the boy. The soldier crouched low, grabbing the boy's shoulders, forcing him to meet his gaze. "Look at me. Who is he?" The boy shook violently, his words a flood of sobs. "He told me I belonged to him. He told me he'd never stop. He told me if I ran, he'd find me again." The soldier's blood ran cold. This wasn't chance. This wasn't accident. The man beneath wasn't begging for help. He was calling. Hunting. The whispers screamed louder, filling the soldier's skull until thought fractured. The boy's words tangled with them, his pleas rising higher. "Don't let him find me. Please, don't let him find me." The soldier pressed the boy back against the wall, rifle swinging toward the man. "You won't take him." The man laughed again, wet and broken, but triumphant. Too late. And then the whispers collapsed into one unified word, all voices, all at once, screaming into the soldier's head. "Help me!" The soldier fired, bullet tearing through flesh and floor alike. The K9 howled in fury, shaking the body with savage force. But the boy's scream rose higher than both, breaking the air into splinters. "He's not gone. He never goes." The soldier's ears rang, the world blurred, dust choking the beam of his light. For one terrible moment, he thought the voices had won, that the sound itself would crush them all. Then silence. It dropped like a blade, cutting the air clean. The man's body lay still beneath the dog, blood pooling dark across the shattered wood. His eyes, wide and glassy, stared upward without focus. The K9 released its grip, panting, chest heaving, teeth bared. The soldier steadied his rifle, sight still fixed on the unmoving body. His breath came slow, even. He waited for movement. For another whisper. For proof it wasn't over. The boy sobbed quietly, head buried against his knees, whispering broken fragments of the same plea. "Don't let him find me. Don't let him find me." The soldier lowered his rifle slowly, his muscles trembling with restraint. He crouched beside the body, flashlight beam steady. The man's lips twitched. And faintly, too faint for the boy to hear, the whisper slid free one last time. "Choose." The soldier's breath stopped. His blood ran cold. The K9 growled, low and deep, its gaze fixed on the body as if it too had heard. The soldier stepped back, rifle raising once more. The boy looked up, tears streaking his face. His voice cracked into raw despair. "Please, don't let him find me." And in the silence that followed, the soldier realized the whispers hadn't ended. They had only multiplied, waiting. The silence after the last shot was suffocating. Dust hung thick, floating in the narrow beam of the soldier's flashlight. The man's body lay still under the K9's watchful stance, blood seeping across the fractured boards. The boy huddled in the corner, trembling so violently that the wall itself seemed to shake with him. For a moment, the soldier allowed himself to believe it was over. His breath slowed, his grip loosened just slightly on the rifle. The K9 panted heavily but did not relax, its gaze locked and unblinking on the unmoving body. And then, a whisper slid through the quiet. "Help me." The soldier snapped his rifle upward, sweeping the beam across the body. But the man's lips didn't move. His chest didn't rise. His eyes were open, glassy, unseeing. "Help me." The voice came again, but this time it was not singular. Another followed, overlapping slightly, too close to separate. "Help me. Help me." The soldier's throat tightened. His beam swung across the room. Empty corners. Collapsed shelves. Nothing moved, yet the voices grew. The boy clamped his hands over his ears, rocking violently, his screams breaking into fragments. "Don't listen! Don't listen!" The canine snarled, low and deep, spinning in place, its ears swiveling as if trying to locate sound that came from everywhere and nowhere at once. Its amber eyes cut through the dust, frantic yet precise. The soldier steadied his breathing. "This isn't real," he muttered, though even as he spoke, he didn't believe it. The voices multiplied. "Help me! Please! Don't leave me! Help!" They circled the room, spiraling, overlapping, so loud that they filled the soldier's skull until thought itself was drowned. The boy wailed, pressing his forehead to the wall. "He's looking for me. Don't let him find me." His words cracked into sobs, his small frame folding tighter, as though if he shrank small enough, the voices would pass him by. The soldier dropped to one knee, forcing his voice sharp above the noise. "Where is it coming from?" His words were swallowed by the storm. The canine barked violently, spinning toward the hatch, then the doorway, then the far corner. It barked again, sharp, frantic, pulling at the harness in every direction at once. The soldier gritted his teeth, fighting the pressure building behind his eyes. The whispers weren't random, they were testing, probing, circling like predators. They weren't asking. They were hunting. And then, suddenly, the storm of voices ceased. The silence dropped hard, a vacuum that pulled the air from the room. The boy whimpered softly, his voice breaking through the emptiness. "He's waiting. He always waits." The soldier's hands trembled against the rifle. He scanned the room again, the beam cutting across shadows that seemed thicker than before. And then the voices returned, not faint, not scattered, but all at once. "Help me!" The shout tore through the air, rattling dust from the ceiling, vibrating against the soldier's chest like a blast wave. He staggered back, boots sliding against the fractured floor. The boy screamed, curling into himself, hands pressed so hard to his ears that they bled. The canine howled, a raw, guttural sound, snapping at the air, lunging at invisible threats circling around them. The soldier fought for breath, his chest heaving, ears ringing. The whispers didn't fade, they fractured again, splitting into dozens of overlapping cries. "Help me! Over here! Please! Don't leave me! Help!" The soldier pressed his palms to his temples, teeth clenched. Each voice sounded close, too close. They layered so thickly he could no longer separate them. The boy cried louder, his voice cutting through in ragged sobs. "He's trying to trick you. Don't listen. Please don't listen." The soldier's breath hitched. He had always trusted sound, trusted instincts, trusted the evidence of his senses. But now, every sense was a weapon turned against him. The canine barked once, sharp, decisive. Its gaze locked dead ahead, toward the broken hatch. The soldier steadied his rifle again, sight locking where the dog pointed. His throat burned with the weight of choice. The boy screamed behind him. "Not the hatch! Anywhere but the hatch!" The soldier spun, torn between the child's terror and the dog's certainty. The voices pressed harder, circling like a storm. "Help me! Open the door! Choose!" The word cracked sharp, louder than the rest. The soldier froze. The voices weren't just begging anymore. They were commanding. "Choose!" The boy sobbed, voice breaking. "Don't choose him! Don't let him find me!" The soldier's chest heaved. His mind split in two, the soldier trained to save whoever begged for help, and the guardian standing between a child and whatever hunted him. He swung back toward the hatch, his voice a roar above the noise. "Show yourself!" The whispers shattered into hundreds of replies. "Help me! Please! Don't leave me! Choose! Help!" The boy shrieked, his scream breaking the storm. "He's lying to you!" The canine lunged, barking with ferocity, its body straining at the harness, dragging the soldier a step closer to the hatch. The soldier gritted his teeth, pulling the boy back with one hand, rifle locked on the hatch with the other. His breath was ragged, his eyes burning from the dust and the sound. The whispers crashed louder, so loud the room itself seemed to vibrate. And then, silence again. A single voice slipped through, soft and steady. "Help me." The soldier's chest tightened. His eyes flicked to the boy. Tears streaked his dirt-stained face. He whispered, fragile but urgent. "He'll make you choose." The soldier swallowed hard, rifle steady. His breath fogged in the cold air, slow and heavy. He didn't know if the voices could hear him, but he spoke anyway. "Not tonight." The canine froze, its body trembling with restraint. The boy sobbed once more, his words breaking into silence. "Please don't let him find me." The soldier's pulse pounded in his ears. He didn't lower the rifle. He didn't step back. He just held, waiting for what came next. And then it came. Not one whisper. Not one plea. All of them, circling, overlapping, distorted, crashing against each other like waves. "Help me, help me, help me." The soldier clenched his jaw, forcing his focus. He felt the weight of the moment pressing down. The voices weren't just noise, they were pulling him, demanding something more. And in the storm, he found himself thinking what he never should have allowed. "If you were in my place, would you open the hatch?" The thought wasn't his alone. He could feel it, pushed into his skull, shaped by the whispers. The boy screamed. The canine barked. The soldier's rifle shook in his grip. And then the hatch slammed upward again, louder than before, boards cracking wide as a new surge of dust and cold air exploded into the room. The whispers screamed in unison. "Help me!" The soldier braced, caught between duty and dread, heart pounding against the cliff of choice. The slam of the hatch echoed like a gunshot, splintered boards shuddering under a force that felt larger than the room itself. Dust choked the air, swirling in frantic eddies around the beam of the soldier's flashlight. The boy's scream cracked through it all, raw and broken, his small hands pressed so hard to his ears that blood smeared down his jawline. The canine barked furiously, body rigid, every muscle pulling against the harness. Its growl rolled like thunder, vibrating through the soldier's chest. The dog wasn't confused anymore, it knew exactly where the threat lay. The soldier steadied his stance, boots crunching against shattered wood, rifle raised, breath sharp. His lungs burned with every inhale, the air heavy with dust and dread. The voices crashed all at once, hundreds overlapping, circling, crawling across the walls. "Help me. Please. Don't leave me. Help. Open it. Don't. Choose." The soldier's ears rang, his vision tunneling as the storm pressed against his skull. He shook his head violently, forcing clarity, forcing focus. He had faced enemy fire, ambushes and snow-blind storms, but never this. Never voices that bled into his very thoughts. The boy's cry rose again, piercing through the wall of sound. "Don't choose him. Don't let him find me." His words broke into sobs, his small frame curling tighter into the corner as though the very shadows reached for him. The soldier's throat tightened. He wanted to reach for him, to pull him close, to shield him. But the hatch pulsed again, groaning under the weight of something pressing upward. And then the storm of voices collapsed into silence. Not silence, no. Something worse. One voice. Louder than all. "Choose." The words slammed into the soldier's skull like a hammer. It wasn't begged. It wasn't pleaded. It was commanded. The boy screamed, shrill and desperate. "Don't listen. Don't listen. Please." The soldier's grip on his rifle trembled. His mind raced. What did it mean? Choose what? Choose who? The K9 barked once, sharp and final, its amber eyes locked on the hatch. Its body vibrated with certainty, every muscle coiled, waiting for the soldier's command. "Choose," the voice repeated, softer this time, but sharper, cutting through bone. The soldier's jaw clenched. He had always made decisions, split-second calls that saved lives or ended them. But this wasn't tactics. This was something deeper, something primal, something that clawed at his very core. The boy wailed, his whisper bleeding into sobs. "If you choose him, I'm gone. He'll take me." He promised he would. The soldier crouched low, pressing his free hand against the boy's trembling shoulder, forcing him to look into his eyes. "I'm not letting anyone take you. Do you hear me?" The boy's eyes, wide and glistening, searched his face for truth. His lips quivered, voice splintering. "Then don't open it. Choose." The word struck again, vibrating the boards under their feet, rattling the broken shelves. Dust cascaded from the rafters. The soldier rose slowly, rifle trained on the hatch. His chest burned, his breath loud in the silence. His every instinct warred against itself, duty to rescue, duty to protect, duty to survive. The K9 growled, head low, teeth bared, body leaning forward with feral intent. Its bark came once more, loud and decisive, directed square at the hatch. The boy sobbed harder, tugging at the soldier's sleeve. "Please, don't let him find me." The hatch groaned. Nails squealed as they tore loose, one after another, pinging across the floor. The boards buckled, the dark beneath yawning wider. "Choose." The soldier's breath caught. His mind sharpened. This wasn't about saving. This wasn't about helping. This was about surrender. The boy's voice cracked again, a whisper jagged and raw. "If you choose him, you lose me." The soldier's hand tightened on the rifle. His eyes flicked between the boy, the hatch, and the K9. He had seconds, maybe less. The voices swelled, no longer fractured, no longer many. They had become one tide, one will, pressing down into his skull. "Choose." The soldier's chest heaved. Sweat streaked cold across his temple. He spoke aloud, not to them but to himself, to the boy, to the dog he didn't know. "I don't choose monsters." The hatch exploded upward, boards tearing free, the hole yawning wide. Darkness poured out like smoke, thick and heavy, pressing against the beam of the flashlight until it bent and broke. The boy screamed, his voice breaking into raw terror. "He's here! He's here!" The K9 lunged, harness straining, teeth snapping into the dark void. Its growl became a roar, primal and unrelenting. The soldier braced, rifle sight locked on the churning black. His finger tightened on the trigger. "Choose." The word came again, louder now, carrying triumph, finality. The boy clutched at his sleeve, sobbing, begging. "Please, don't let him find me." The soldier roared into the dark, his voice splitting through the storm. "I choose him." He yanked the boy close, pressing him behind his body. "I choose the one who still has something to live for." The K9 lunged into the dark, barking with explosive force. The hatch convulsed, the boards ripping away as though torn from within. Dust and cold erupted outward, swallowing the room in chaos. The soldier fired. Once. Twice. 3 times. The whispers screamed, not words now but a howl of rage, a storm of fury that rattled the walls until they seemed ready to collapse. The boy's scream mingled with the sound, raw and piercing, echoing off the stone. And then, the voices stopped. The silence returned, deeper than before, heavy, suffocating. The soldier's breath came ragged. His ears rang with the memory of the storm. The K9 panted, chest heaving, teeth still bared toward the hatch. The boy trembled, clinging to his sleeve, whispering through broken sobs. "Don't let him find me." The soldier lowered his rifle slightly, his eyes locked on the dark hollow where the hatch had been. The silence wasn't victory. It was a pause. Because the choice wasn't finished. Dust fell in slow spirals as the last echoes thinned. The soldier kept the boy behind his body in one hand on the K9's harness, the other steady on a rifle that had already chosen. The hatch yawned open, splinters jagged like teeth. Wind moved through the broken frame, hushed, almost honest again. He waited, listening for the one command that had ruled the room. Nothing. Only the dog's low rumble and the boy's quick, stuttering breaths. "Stay with me," the soldier said. The boy nodded, fingers hooked in the fabric at the small of the soldier's back as if it were a rope on a dark river. The K9 edged forward by inches, nose lifting, drawing the crawlspace into its lungs. The line of its body changed, fury downshifted to guard. He stepped to the lip and tilted his flashlight down. Stone, old timbers, shelves knocked together from scrap. The beam slid across dust, a coil of wire, a tin, and finally a red pinprick of light. "See that?" he murmured. The boy leaned close, eyes wide. "What is it?" "Battery," the soldier said. "And a speaker." The boy's mouth opened. No sound came. He clipped a short line to the K9's harness and eased himself through the hole. Cold climbed his legs. The air smelled of iron and damp wood. Up close, the thing was simple, a taped speaker wired to a power bank, leads soldered onto a tiny board. A microSD card sat beneath a clear cap, labeled with a hand-cut strip of tape. Above the speaker, thin ducts fed away like a crude organ, tubes leading toward vents cut into the floor above. He pulled the cable. The LED winked out. Silence came back, ordinary, workable silence. Above, the K9 gave a single, short huff. The boy didn't speak. The soldier slid the card free and pocketed it. On a shelf he found other things, lengths of cord, a bent key, a paper map speckled by thumbtack scars. A rough sketch of the town. Alleys marked in red. A line from the river to this room. At the end, a circle, and next to it a word pressed hard, door. He climbed out. The K9 rose with careful patience to make room. The boy's eyes went to the map first, then to the hatch, then back again. He planned it. He prepared, the soldier said. He glanced at the body on the boards. The face had lost its grin. It looked small now, tired, like power drains after the battery is gone. The soldier knelt and felt for a pulse. Faint, but there. Alive. The boy's voice frayed. "Will he find me again?" "Not tonight." The soldier keyed his radio, gave coordinates, requested medical and law. The reply cracked through the wind, "Copy, en route." The K9 pressed its shoulder into the boy's knee. His hand hovered over black fur, then settled. The dog took the weight like a vow. Wind threaded the broken frame. The building exhaled. The soldier faced the child. "You ran," he said. Not accusation. Fact. The boy swallowed. "He said there wasn't anywhere I could go he wouldn't hear me." He lifted his gaze to the vents. "I thought the walls belonged to him." "They didn't," the soldier said, showing the cut tubes with the light. "He bought himself echoes. That's all." The boy drew a breath, held it, and let it go. A little space appeared where fear had been welded tight. "Don't let him find me," he whispered, the old plea returning because old habits travel faster than truth. The soldier crouched so their eyes met. "He won't," he said. "Men like him are loud until they're not." The K9 leaned into them both, warmer than the room by a long way. Sirens rose somewhere beyond the river. Dawn thinned the blue, and the snow began to take color back. Boots approached. A medic and an officer entered, reading the scene without crowding it. The medic checked the boy's hands for cuts, The officer crouched by the hatch, lifted the speaker, and met the soldier's eyes. There would be paperwork, charges, custody. Not now. They worked without hurry. The boy kept one hand in the dog's fur and one on the soldier's sleeve. "Do voices stay in walls?" he asked. "Only if we feed them," the soldier said, tapping the pocket with the card. They stepped out when the stretcher came. Cold bit his cheeks, but the air was honest. The town watched from behind glass, faces small in windows. The K9 walked close, bumping the boy's knee now and then as if to keep him in the same world as the rest of them. The soldier took the windward side. He did not call it protection. He simply did it. At the truck, the boy looked back at the doorway. A loose wire clicked in the breeze. His lips shaped the old words, then stopped. "Say it different," the soldier said. The boy tried. "He won't find me." The sentence wobbled, then settled. The K9's tail tapped twice. Doors shut. Sirens slid into engine noise. Block by block, the town uncoiled. The boy slept with his cheek against black fur, breath evening out. The dog watched the horizon and, now and then, the soldier's hands on the wheel. He didn't speak. Some promises hold best without sound. The night would stay with him, the choice at the hatch, the weight of a child's plea, the dog's single, perfect bark. He knew this story would stay with him forever, maybe with you too. If you'd like to walk with us on more journeys, stay close. A mile later, the wind changed. It carried the clean scrape of snow across fence and road and nothing else. In the seat behind, the boy stirred, and without opening his eyes he let out the smallest, truest whisper a human voice can make. The soldier exhaled slowly, feeling the night release its hold at last. "Thank you."